A St. Thomas man is in police custody tonight after he's accused of fondling a little boy and his younger sister. The 50-year-old David Aubain, who manages the Captain's Corner store on Main Street. This story goes back to January of 2008. The incident happened at Aubain's home around 6 p.m. According to the children's testimony, Aubain touched both children inappropriately, punched the little girl several times in her stomach and face, and also threatened to kill both children as well. Aubain was arrested at his job over the weekend and is placed on $100,000 bail. Meanwhile, Judge Alan Smith upheld the 8 charges on Aubain, however, reduced his bail at $75,000. Stay with us on News Channel 8. We have more news after the break. The governor recently took a tour of the 911 facility on St. Thomas. News Channel 8's Lee Carl has that story.
Today was the day we got a chance to do a walk around, or at least the governor did, of the new facility for 911. And it's stunning, really. We got a chance to see Mark Walters introduce the governor to the various locations. And then we had a chance to speak to Mark and the governor and Nobel Francis, the fire people, all of the people who will be affected by the 911.
Today is the walkthrough of the 911 center. We actually went live last week, Wednesday. This is the second phase of the project, which included the call center on St. Croix. We went live on July. Now we have the capability of taking calls for 911 throughout the territory. We also built in redundancy into the system where we can actually take calls from St. Croix, and St. Croix can actually take calls from St. Thomas. So this is what you see here today as part of the governor's vision towards a robust 911 system and emergency management for the territory.
Well, one of the things that I really want to do today is compliment Mark and his team, Ms. Wong, Ms. Watley, for what they've truly accomplished here. I mean, today really is an indication of the investment that we have made and the vision that we've had in terms of improving overall safety within the community and just communications in general. And at the same time, while a lot of discussion has been about the monies that we've spent, there's also called for a lot of uptraining and upgrading of personnel, both in terms of the technology, but also in terms of the call center. And it's really opened up tremendous opportunities for them. But this is one aspect of the overall reorganization of VITEMA. And Mark's being here from Region 2 and FEMA support in this entire process has truly been critical, because the level of investment that this territory is making requires that we have someone that has the expertise and the ability to manage it, but also that we have the support of FEMA at the federal level, because it will require tremendous investment both of local resources and federal resources. And I think today what you're seeing here in St. Thomas, by seeing an integrated facility with 911 and the VITEMA operations on St. Croix with the 911 center, really shows that commitment. And it goes across the board, not just in terms of VITEMA, but also and its responsibilities, particularly during hurricane season, but also 911 with EMS, fire, and the police department, and the public assistance officers. So it's really a very comprehensive approach that we're following, and today was a chance to see it, but at the same time, to see Ms. Watley's crew in the call center operators really transition away from a previous approach that we had to a new one. And I have to compliment the Senate, Senator White in particular, Senator Dow, for what they did in terms of pushing the legislation through, giving us the resources that were necessary, and Mark's management of getting us to this point along with his team.
Lee Carl for News Channel 8.
Recently, our governor talked to members of the Rotarians on St. Thomas. Let's take a look.
We're presenting to the legislature our vision as to what we think ought to happen with respect to Charlotte Amalie, going from the beginning of Main Street down to Market Square and encompassing the project in terms of waterfront improvements. And these are all the things that we're trying to make sure that we juggle and we continue to maintain, even as we don't know with any certainty what goes into 2010. I believe the foundation is clear that as long as we continue to see that the glass is half full, as long as we don't get distracted by negativism that takes place with respect to votes or comments, I believe that there's a tremendous opportunity for us. Not many locations can talk about increased cruise ship arrivals. Not many locations can talk about additional capacity. We have over 3 hotel chains, 3 hotel development projects in St. Croix. We have 2 in St. Thomas that are just poised to go once the credit market opens back up. Not many can really talk about that sort of push that's taking place, particularly at this stage of the economic activity that is happening within the United States. We've been fortunate. I think we've been fortunate, one, because of you. It's very clear that a lot of businesses are willing to stick through what is necessary to begin to get to the other side of this bubble that we're in. On the other hand, it is up to us in government to make sure that we continue to have those services available. That's why we're, for example, pushing early childhood education. We're coming out with quality rating programs on our daycare centers, our development centers, starting within the next, like January of 2010, so that when you get into first grade, we knew what happened before that, so that we can make sure that age-appropriate learning has taken place. We're pushing alternative education, just to make sure those young men and women who are at risk, and contrary to what people believe, there are women out there, in many cases, we always say young men, but a lot of our young women also need that push with respect to alternative education. So we're doing it in St. Croix at the Positive Connection. We're doing it over here at the Edith Williams Alternative School. We're looking at our whole entire curriculum to focus on math and sciences to make sure more of that is done. Last weekend, I hosted the Summer Reading Challenge Party for the young kids that read 5 or more books over the summer. And a lot of them read over 20 books, but I wanted to make sure that they had a party at the end so they saw a connection between doing a good job and the end results. And we gave them medals just so they would be able to see how important that is. We're pushing career technical. We've changed our entire career technical plan to where we now have 16 tracks that people can go on. And from marine to aviation to looking at information technology. And those are the things that we're doing to make sure that we invest for the present and the future, but make sure that we're able to have activity that is taking place. And one of the areas that we're really pushing very hard is in law enforcement. I understand more than anyone that the quality of our life depends on us feeling safe, being comfortable, but most importantly, knowing that when something is reported, that there's a response. And that's the one area that I have not restricted the ability to hire. All we've done is increase the requirements to be a police officer. If you want to be a police officer, you have to take a drug test, you have to take a psychological test, you've got to pass, get your GED or in high school. Once you're in, we'll pay for you to go to UVI. We're inducing high school students to be a part of it because we've expanded our police cadet program. We now have over 75 young men and women that are part of that program that we give a stipend to be a part of it, so they begin to understand law enforcement. The Commissioner of Police is changing the way that we're approaching it in terms of no longer are these cars, are the officers able to ride around with their windows rolled up. We're requiring them to roll their windows down, so that psychological barrier does no longer exist. We're shifting the focus in terms of daytime and nighttime. We've put in place community integration teams to make sure that there's a vehicle in St. John, St. Thomas, and St. Croix, that if you have a concern, you can talk to someone in the police department. Mary Gleason here is in charge of the one in St. Thomas. So we're doing all of that to make sure there's a way that we can connect and at the same time have faster response.